Hello and welcome to another SciFirst MovieTalk episode. In this episode I'll be discussing the 2015 British comedy The Bad Education Movie, starring Jack Whitehall and directed by Elliot Hegarty. So, the film is based on the successful UK TV comedy series Bad Education, which ran for 3 series from 2012 to 2014. Based on the exploits of a teacher by the name of Alfie Wickers, played by Jack Whitehall, who is dubbed the worst teacher ever to grace the British education system, and his history class at the fictional Abbey Grove School in Hertfordshire. The film sees pretty much most of the major cast from the TV series return, reprising their respective roles for one more outing, with the film serving, I would suppose, as an end to the TV series, with the infamous class now looking to leave school and pursue the rest of their lives after completing their GCSEs. Alfie wants to finish with his class basically on a school trip they will never forget for the rest of their lives, and opts to take them to Las Vegas. But wait, don't get too excited. After the idea is kiboshed by the Parent-Teacher Association, thanks to the disastrous trip to Amsterdam the year before, and a series of rather unfortunate events following the PTA meeting involving its ringleader Susan Poulter, played by Joanna Scanlon, the mother of one of his pupils, Alfie then offers to fund the trip himself, only to be dissuaded when the cost is pointed out to him. So he then opts to take the class to Cornwall. However, the only way that the class will get to go with Mr. Wickers, as is found out at the very last minute, is if they are accompanied by Mrs. Poulter, much to the extreme dismay of Alfie and his class. Through one event and another, with Alfie and his students trying at every turn to escape the ever-watchful eye of Mrs. Poulter, they actually unwittingly become involved in a Cornish terrorist cell hell-bent on claiming independence for Cornwall, headed up by Pascoe Trelevelyan, as played by Ian Glenn, who had previously been in a number of the Resident Evil film series. For me, there are 2 types of movie that spin off from a British TV show. Being British myself, I do watch a few of them, particularly comedies. The first being The Holy Grail, a movie which manages to capture the heart and essence of the original TV series on which it is based. The second, well, put simply, one which doesn't. Typically, these movies have over-exaggerated and ludicrous plots, OTT characters played by actors who sadly try their best but tend to overact in order to compensate for the abysmal film they've found themselves in, to be fair, and what I would call stupid comedy. Outrageous gags which you can only cringe at when watching. Often the comedy or joke being carried out for far too long, way past its punchline. So, sadly, this film fits squarely into that second category. The film takes the outrageous and ludicrous plot approach with the inclusion of the terrorist cell element, which, quite frankly, relies solely on taking cheap shots at Cornwall, the Cornish people and the perceived Cornish stereotypes. Unlike the TV series, most of the film isn't even set at the school, which I know is the whole point of the film, given that the class are on a school trip, but it feels tired and cliche. Going on a trip or holiday seems to be the go-to template for a British TV show film adaptation. You only have to look at movie TV spin-offs of TV series such as Please Sir, Are You Being Served, and the 2 in-betweeners movies to see that this is a common go-to idea. All of which, by the way, are much better movies than this one is, by a long shot. And whilst seeing your favourite characters go on the jolly holes is always a nice change, the thing is that quite a lot of the essence of why people tuned in each week to see the series and what made the shows good is often lost in translation somewhere. The film contains a number of crass jokes and visual gags. Don't get me wrong, the TV show did. But it seemed like the film was just trying too hard to make the comedy work. And so a lot of it seemed quite forced and excessive, whereas the TV show was a lot more cleverly scripted in this respect, I thought. We had more than one shot of Alfie's genitalia, well, at least a cheap-looking prosthetic, in jokes that really didn't call for it. It was crude for crude's sake. For example, trying not to spoil too much of the punchline, there's one joke in particular where Alfie is de-kegged by his class just prior to going down a zip wire. At first, this joke was quite amusing. It fitted well with the kind of daft stunt his class would actually pull. What we then didn't need, in my opinion, was to have a full shot of his bits in our face as he travelled down the zip wire. I think for me that part was absolutely unnecessary to the comedy overall. Just for the nudity to be seen at the distance implied sort of made the joke funny enough. The TV show, as crass as it was, never relied, as far as I can remember, on such comedy. It was more innuendo and implied comedy. And it seems a shame that they felt that the film had to be taken down this route to get laughs. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't laugh at some of the jokes in the film, because if my wife's watching this, she's going to call me a liar. There were some funny moments in it. It wasn't all that bad. I was just quite disappointed that they thought that they had to go over the top to try and entertain the viewers. And it's a shame, because after watching the series, I was really looking forward to watching the film. I didn't watch the series when it first came out, and I actually watched it on catch-up not so long back. I found it quite funny and kind of latched onto it, having had previously enjoyed another of Jack Whitehall's comedies, Fresh Meat, which is another British TV series. I had, in fact, badgered my wife to watch this film with me. She hadn't seen the show, by the way. These types of comedies aren't really her thing, but I thought there might be at least a few elements she might enjoy based on my experience with the TV show. But from the minute the film started, I kind of had to sink into my seat. I really did. From the very first scene, I just knew this was not going to go down well. I've been warned that I'll have to be more cautious over what I choose for us to watch in the future. So overall, I think the question has got to be why. Why make the film at all? It was probably best to have left the series where it was rather than trying to cash in with a cheap, quickly knocked out spin-off, to be fair. It simply tried too hard to be funny, and the result was acting which was too forced and an over-the-top plot. It's probably one of those films that I will end up watching again, but most likely when I'm doing some work or around the house or something like that. Probably having it on in the background, you know, ambience, shall we say. Personally, I think if you've watched and loved the series, you're going to be disappointed with the film. Is it worth a watch? I wouldn't say no, but I wouldn't make a beeline for it. So, that brings me to the end of this episode. Many thanks for watching. If you like my reviews and general movie discussions, then please do hit that subscribe button. Please leave a like on this video, and of course, any comments you feel necessary. Definitely, of course, if you have any comments about any upcoming movies or SciFirst sort of movie talk episodes you'd like me to sort of do, by all means, yeah. But yeah, otherwise, thank you for watching once again, and I hope to see you again in another SciFirst Movie Talk episode. Goodbye.